bakery manager, or a front of the house bakery manager. And that was really awesome for a while, except for I was gaining a lot of weight. I realized while working there I was gluten intolerant because I was working in a gluten-free bakery, and I really hit a plateau and I just felt like crap, and I thought feeling like crap was normal. And so I went on to going gluten-free and then going paleo, and I found CrossFit, and I actually started doing CrossFit. I did it for about a year, but when the holidays came around at the bakery, I just didn't have time. And that is when I reached out to my coach, Amy Silverman, and I asked about T25, and I came over and did a workout, and she's like, you should be a coach. And I had no idea what that meant, but for some reason my family was telling me not to do it. And I couldn't figure out why. I had no idea what Beachbody was before Amy, and like I just reached out to her on Instagram because she was local, and I saw what she was doing and it looked like fun. So I hit this really crappy, I did T25, and then I hit this point after Thanksgiving. It was right before Christmas, where I was actually brought over to my old job because the bakery that I worked at was right across the street from Safeway. They took me across the street one day after we closed, and I was doing my closing stuff. And my two bosses, the owner who just didn't like me, and one of the other managers, asked me to step down as a manager because they said I was a horrible leader. I was the reason all these people quit. And I was just being blamed for a lot of things, which wasn't new at the bakery. Like, I was used to it, but the only reason I didn't quit because I was working with my friends, and I was like, well, I'm making minimum wage. It's okay. I have set hours. But I remembered Amy in the back of my head saying, you should be a coach. And at that point, I was like, I don't know what that is, but I want it. And I see her lifestyle. I see what she has, and that's what I want. And so I felt like crap getting told that I'm this horrible person and this horrible leader. And in the back of my head, I'm just thinking about Amy. And so I walked away. I texted Amy. I was like, I don't know what coaching is, but I want in. And I signed up. I actually didn't take the business seriously for my first 4 months. When I had my GSR with her, it was in person, and she told me to pull my head out of my ass. Sorry if there's kids. She told me I needed to take this business seriously if I wanted to do something with it, and I wanted to quit my retail job. And so I had 6 months to do it before the holiday season came around. And so that's what I started doing. And I didn't feel comfortable at the time because I wasn't doing the 3 vital behaviors, reaching out to Facebook friends, because I was like, well, I don't consider myself a fitness professional. So I was like, Instagram, this seems like fun. I can be whoever I want to be on Instagram, and nobody actually needs to know me. And so and that's also how I reached out to Amy. So I was like, this is what I need to figure out. So I started playing with that. And then within 6 months, I was able to replace my full-time income, which was only $400 a week. It wasn't like, oh, that much. I'm single. I mean, I have my boyfriend, but we have a cat. We don't have kids, so I know it's a lot different for everybody and what they have to make. But my mark was like $400 a week, and I hit that in November just as I went diamond, and I quit. And I've been full-time since. So Instagram, like I said, it's really cool tool. I've met 90% of my team and my challengers from Instagram. And the biggest problem that when I talk to people about it is consistency. They're not posting consistently. So what you really want to start with is just posting 3 to 5 times a day. It's that easy. You want to post something that's like fitness related. You can do something lifestyle related, something personal development related, but you want to find things about your life that you can share that's not just about Beachbody, because it's really about a lifestyle and people want to be able to relate to you. So if you're not some fitness expert, don't try to be a fitness expert. People are going to see through that really, really quickly. So I always tell people, besides just Beachbody and fitness, what are 3 things that people can pick out about you, or that you can pick out about yourself that you want to share with people? For me, it's that I'm in my 20s and that I love the outdoors. I go hiking all the time, and that I have tattoos. So those are or I'm paleo. That's kind of one of my things too. So that's part of my brand. So you really want to find what your brand is. So pick 3 things besides coaching that you identify with and that you want to share consistently with people. And then you post about it. So I also post a lot of PD on mine, just because I think inspiration is really important. But I don't just post quotes, because you want to add value to you, and people like to see you and see you doing things rather than just see a quote on Instagram. So you can do a quote in like the caption, but do a picture of you doing something, or, you know, working out, or like a sweaty selfie, and post a quote. Then you have PD and fitness all in one. So when you are posting, the things that are really important is that, one, your pictures are bright and clear and focused, because people don't want to see grainy photos. They don't want to see, like, you can use some filters, but just don't overdo it, because people want something that's going to catch their attention. 2, don't use a lot of borders and colors and stickers. I know it can be so tempting with like Rana and all those things, but you don't want to do that. 3, use what you know. Don't necessarily talk about the products on your Instagram. Talk about what they do. Say like 30-minute HIIT workouts, but please do not use Beachbody and the 21-Day Fix and like Shakeology, because you are only going to attract coaches and other MLMs, and, you know, people are going to see exactly what you're doing, and then they're not going to reach out and ask about it. So you want to be able to create some sort of mystery on your page. You want to say lifestyle coach. You don't want to say Beachbody coach with your link. The successful Beachbody coaches whose Instagrams, like Amy, you know, even Stephanie Davies, they don't say Beachbody coach. They say like lifestyle coach or a lifestyle specialist. So you want to create kind of like a mystery. So people reach out because they're like, I think she does Beachbody, but I'm not sure if I can get the 21-Day Fix from her or not. But you want to talk about like 30-minute HIIT workouts, daily superfoods, portion control meal plan, but you just don't want to post pictures of like the products or the banners that Beachbody gives us, because then people can just go order stuff online without you, and you're not adding value to you as a coach. And that's really important on social media, because you have all these people who can see your stuff, but if you're not adding value to you, they're not going to see the value, and they're not going to reach out to you asking for your help. So I think it's really important. So like I said, don't use like main names. I've been saying size just because like, you can't call anything, like there's no good word for, you know, size other than size. So you'll see size on my Instagram, but that's about it as far as like product names, unless I'm at an event and I'll say like Beachbody. But I really try to create like mystery behind mine, because I look at Amy's and I'm like, hers is the most un-Beachbody, like Beachbody account, and she's like the number 2 coach in the company. So, you know, it's working for her, it can work for you. So like I said, you don't want to have a bunch of borders. You want to keep your pictures bright and clear. You don't need a lot of writing on it. You can write stuff in the comments. And then something really important, like Tamara said in the beginning, is hashtags. So with hashtags, it's really important not to, like I said, don't hashtag Beachbody, don't hashtag the 21-Day Fix. You're only going to get coaches. You're only going to get people who already have coaches. Hashtag like where your area is. So I'm in Portland, Oregon, so I hashtag like Portland, Oregon, or PDX, or PDX Love, or Portlandia, or things like that. So wherever you are, that is a really good way to attract local coaches too, and local people, local challengers. And that's why a lot of my coaches are local. It's because I've met them through Instagram, and I target a lot of people in the Pacific Northwest. So you can use it for wherever you are. If you just hashtag like FitFam and Fit Girls, again, you're going to get a lot of like other MLMs and other people who already have coaches and coaches following your page. And that's not bad, but you're not like attracting the people you want to attract. So you want to use hashtags that go with your brand. So like I said, I do a lot of hiking, so I'll do hiking hashtags, and I'll do girls with tattoos, or girls with ink, or like short hair, don't care, I don't know. Those are just some that come off the top of my head. But also a really important thing is you want to post the hashtags in the comments section. So once you actually post your caption, go underneath right away, because Instagram has this thing that if you don't post it right away, it's going to go back if you post like hashtags hours later, it'll put that picture whenever you posted it, so hours later, so people aren't going to see it in the feed. So you need to post it right after you do that. And you want to post about, I think Instagram has a limit of 30, but yeah, just use them to fit your brand. So if you're a mom, if you know you have short hair, or if you have tattoos, or you know, and you can post like get sweaty or something like that. But the more like targeted your hashtags are for your area or for your brand, the more authentic people and the better your reach is going to be to those people. And another thing, when you are posting pictures, Instagram has this awesome thing where you can add location. You have to turn on your location settings in your phone and on Instagram. But, and this is where forming really comes in, and this is how I create a lot of contacts on Instagram. So you tag yourself when you go out to get coffee, or when you go to a yoga class, or when you go to a restaurant. And then when you post your picture, you go back in afterwards. And you can spend like 15 to 30 minutes a day doing this. You go to that location and you start scrolling through, and you'll see all the other people who have tagged themselves in these locations. So at this coffee shop, at this yoga studio, whatever. And then you don't just start liking random stuff, because then you're just going to look spammy. Look for the people, like, don't take a ton of time doing this. Like I said, 15 to 30 minutes. Start looking for the people who fit your brand, the people that you want to work with. And that's the cool thing about this business, is you get to attract the people you want to work with. So a lot of the girls on my team have like tattoos and are kind of alternative looking or whatever, because I'm choosing the people, because I'm going through these places that I've gone. When I tag myself in that location, I go back through and I choose who I'm gonna talk to. So I go to their Instagram and I like 3 to 4 of their pictures. Then I comment on 2, always asking a question or starting a conversation, creating rapport. A really important thing is tagging them. So when you write that comment, when you write that question, always tag them so they see it, because there are a lot of spammy things like Instagram. I'm sorry if any of you guys use that. I do not like that, because a lot of coaches do, and it just posts comments and likes, and people think it's spammy, and it's like, oh, cool shot, or I love your style, but it's not like authentic. And people want an authentic relationship. The reason why they're on Instagram is because they want attention, and that's what you can give them. You can give them a compliment. You can talk about their shoes. You can talk about their hiking spot, and that's where you create that conversation. And when you're doing that, they will go back over to your page and look at your page. So if you are consistent on your Instagram and posting 3 to 5 times a day, and I try to have a transformation every like 6 to 8 photos, and I have like a clear thing. It says like Caitlin Ann, lifestyle coach, paleo foodie, outdoors enthusiast, Portland, Oregon, and then I have my email on there, and it says like, talk to me. And people will see what I'm about and see, oh, this girl is a health coach or a lifestyle coach, and her page is about fitness, but it's also about food and her cat and hiking. And, you know, when you're consistent, they want to follow you for that. They want to follow you because you have something to add to them. And if you're doing this right, you're going into people's pages who have similar interests as you. So they're going to the same restaurants, they go to the same yoga studio, or they go to the same coffee shop. So they'll see that you guys have mutual interests, and then they'll follow you, and they'll drop like I said, if you're posting invites on your social media, which you should be, and I'll talk about that in another minute, you have people like dropping emails and creating those conversations because you're inviting on Instagram. And that's really helps you create relationships. And a lot of time people will say, thank you for liking my photos, or for the attention, or yeah, I went on this hike. And then you comment back and you create that relationship. And like I said, then they know you're a real person and not just somebody spamming them, which happens a lot on Instagram. And that's also how you get action on your page, because people are more likely to comment on your photos and talk to you when you start a conversation with them. A big thing about Instagram, it is a numbers game. So if you're following like 1,200 people, you need to bring that down to like 300, 200 people. People like it, when you look at successful Instagram accounts, there's like a higher number of followers to the following. So you want to follow like 300 people. Don't follow a ton of coaches either. Like follow a few that you find inspiration from, because now when somebody goes to follow you, they will recommend other people who have similar pages. So if you're following a ton of coaches and somebody goes to follow you, it's going to recommend a ton of other coaches who you follow. It recommends like 3 other people. So I think that's really important to note. And with that, what was I going to say? If you guys aren't talking about the business opportunity on Facebook and Instagram, it's really important too, because like I said, you're talking about coaching. You want to tie it into your daily life. So then you're attracting people who want to work the business and want to do this with you. What I always tell my new coaches or challengers who upgrade to coaches, or, you know, coaches who are struggling with talking about the business because they don't feel like they have a team yet. One, you're part of an awesome team. You've got Tamara, you've got this awesome team. So talk about it. Create a list of at least 20 different ways, and I always say start with 20. There's a ton more, I'm sure, that coaching has changed your life. Whether it's you feel more confident, you have a rad group of people to hang out with, you get to go, you know, work from a coffee shop. Write down a list of at least 20 ways coaching has changed your life, and that gives you 20 different posts to talk about it. Create each one of those into little stories, because people like stories. People like hearing different parts and getting vulnerable on your social media. Because here's a little tip. Talking about like insecurities can be really freaking scary. When I started talking about on my social media that when I was in high school, I did a bunch of drugs and I shoplifted and I did all these things, but, you know, I'm not there anymore. I'm working from home. I'm 23. I'm healthier than I've ever been. I feel good and I feel confident in my body. And I don't struggle with anxiety like I used to. People can relate to those things. Like if you're attracting the people that you want to on your social media through hashtags, through locations, and creating those conversations, people are going to see that you're relatable and they can relate to your struggles. So you want to get uncomfortable on your social media and talk about your story, so then they can come back and they can be like, okay, why not me? So like I said, create a list of at least 20 ways that coaching has changed your life and start talking about it. That gives you 20 different stories, and just, you can even BS it a little bit. Like it doesn't have to be some intense thing, but you do want to start talking about it every day and just tying it into your social media. And then when people see that you're consistent on your social media, they want to do whatever you're doing. It's just kind of that simple. So that's really it in a nutshell. I don't know if there was anything else, or if that was good.
One behind.
Definitely all like really amazing information. So just to clarify, like when you have people on Instagram and say you strike up a conversation with them, do you bring them back to your Facebook, or do you?
So a lot of the times, like I said, it goes back to being relatable. So you want to make sure you're being relatable. And then if you start a conversation, you can be like, why aren't we, are we friends on Facebook? Why aren't we friends on Facebook? And it's easy as converting someone just like that and getting their name or telling them your name, and then they'll go friend you or find your like page. But that happens to me a lot, where you're just like talking to them and you're like, oh, we should grab coffee sometime, or, you know, we should do this. Are we friends on Facebook? That's when you're like, you know, being your authentic self. For me, I'm really silly, so my followers like when I'm silly, and they're like, oh, why aren't we friends yet? I'm like, I don't know, friend me on Facebook. You can see more of my silly stuff.
Yeah, for sure. So like what, and this is kind of like off the wall, but not really, but what is your biggest thing that you have learned since the day you started with Beachbody? Like what made you decide, I want this?
Well, I saw Amy like doing this, and she really, like she said, she went from like a not a bartender, I'm sorry, I'm Maitland that way for some reason, total opposites. Don't tell Amy, she would kill me for that. But she was like a career waitress. She had a similar background with alcoholic parents, and she struggled with drugs and things. And I was like, if this girl can do it, I can do it. And for me, like my family can't support me. They've never been able to. And this was the one thing that I could do where I didn't have to go to college, where I could actually be myself, where I didn't have to try to be somebody else. And when I actually started being myself on my social media and attracting people who wanted to do this too, I was like, oh, I can do this. It's just going to keep happening. It keeps growing.
Yeah.
Because like really it comes down to personal development, because Amy, when she told me to pull my head on my ass, I really wasn't doing personal development. I wasn't being consistently a product of the product. And I wasn't constantly inviting people because, you know, I wasn't doing my personal development, so I was scared of failure. But when I started doing personal development, I found my authentic self and I started sharing it, and I started getting really excited about it, and I just started going for it and being unapologetic about it. And I was like, oh, if I can do, and this is what I always tell my new coaches and people who I talk to, if I can do this, guys, I'm spazzy, I'm 23 years old, I'm totally unorganized, a procrastinator. Tamara can tell you. I mean, we were in Costa Rica and I was a little less spazzy, maybe. I don't know. But like, if I can do this, I seriously believe anybody can. Because, you know.
Totally. Yeah, anybody can. That's the thing. But I think what people struggle with, and you can let me know, but when you decided to go full time and you started doing this Revital behavior, was it like instant change? You're like, okay, one day you're not getting Success Club and then all of a sudden the next day you're at Success Club, or was it just like a consistent snowball effect?
A little bit of both. So one of the things also that Amy told me to do when we had my GSR call, and she told me to put my head on my ass, which I always tell people to do all the time now, is make 50 contacts a day on Facebook, on Instagram. So going in and make sure I was talking to those people and friending new people on Facebook. But I sometimes see coaches do this where they'll friend coaches and they'll just send a direct message, which is horrible. You don't want to do that. And be like, hey, join my challenge group, which it's going to happen because like the business is getting bigger. But you don't want to do that. But friend people who you went to school with, friend, like they always say friend people, but that's a contact. That's an invite. Like just start conversating with people, which is like the hardest thing. But I have to say I was consistent on my social media, but I wasn't consistently inviting. So when I brought all three things together, it kind of did happen quickly because I just upped my numbers. I was like, I need to make this work. I have no other option. I want to quit this job. It's going to happen. But it did take time. And even this time last year, like this is the hardest time of year, you guys. And I know some of my coaches are feeling it. People who were hit like Success Club 20 in the past few months are like, at SC2 right now too. And they're like, you know, I'm just having a really hard time. Well, this time last year, I had to buy a challenge pack to hit Success Club. I bought it under my sibling's name, or I had them buy it and I like paid them back for it. You know, I invested in my business to do that because I saw the benefits of hitting Success Club, because I hear it over and over. Amy says it all the time, and I hear other top coaches say, if you're hitting Success Club 5 or 10 every month and recruiting like 3 coaches a month in like 3 to 4 years, you could have 6 figures, you know, if you're consistent with it. And I was like, okay, Success Club is the backbone to this business. Whatever I'm going to do, like I'm going to offer giveaways. I'm going to do, you know, buy a challenge pack to hit Success Club. I think it's worth investing in your business.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I totally believe that. Just make sure you know the difference between bonus buying and buying under somebody else's. Like,
oh yeah, totally. It's the, and you can do on your card U+2.
Yeah, right. Definitely.
But yeah, it's not. And I just like gifted that to them, but I bought it. I paid for it just because I was like, I want to hit Success Club. And Amy was like, hey, invest in your business. And I was like, okay. You know,
I remember. I totally remember sitting at the first Diamond Retreat. It was Amy, myself, Liz, and Jessica Tran. And all of us were sitting there, and I just remember Amy, which was so funny because she was like, you guys need to stop working. But the whole time we were on the retreat, she was like, on her phone. So, yeah. But I remember one of her best friends, Megan or something like that, was going inactive, and she had to call her, and she was like, what's going on? She's like, okay, we're going to switch it to my credit card. But it is true that you have to invest in your business. If you can't afford to do it, then you need to make way more contacts.
Yeah.
That's how it was for me. I couldn't afford it, and so I needed to be out there talking to way more people. But can you give everybody like an idea of how many people you invite daily?
So I probably make it a goal to make anywhere from, I make 10 to 15 new contacts on Facebook a day. And then I make about 30 to 40 new contacts on Instagram a day, because that is my niche. And I see more with that than I do my Facebook, unless I switch people over to Facebook. And I always just start that conversation. So, probably now, it wasn't always this way. It started with like 10 new Facebook friends a day and like 10 new Instagram friends a day. But now that I'm full-time, I have upped my numbers because I am pushing for elite, and I have a lot bigger goals this year than I did last year, because last year was just going full-time. Right. And, you know, now I'm like trying to grow my income and sustain where I'm at and grow my team. And so my numbers have gone up. So, like I used to do like 15 minutes a day on Instagram, like forming people and creating those relationships. And I probably spend now 45 minutes to an hour going through creating contacts on Instagram now.
Okay, cool. So you're making about 50, 55 new contacts a day with Facebook and Instagram.
Yes.
But when it comes to like actually inviting.
So, with that, I'm really into the forming process because I am friending like 10 and 15 people on Facebook a day, and I will send that message. I'm like, hey, thanks for accepting my friend request. We're friends of friends, and I just thought it'd be fun to connect. And then you can just start that conversation. And I also send people messages on their birthday who I went to high school with. I'm like, hey, happy birthday. It's a lot different than like a Facebook post.
Mm-hmm.
People are a lot more likely to respond. And then you just start that conversation. I'm not, like I said, I've seen it happen where coaches will like friend someone and then send a direct challenge group invite, and I think that's spammy. It's not personally what I'm about, and so I will start conversations with people, and then when they ask me what I'm doing, I put it out there, and I'm like, oh, you could totally do this with me. I'm also constantly doing soft invites and hard invites on my social media. So I'm constantly like sharing about my challengers' progress on my social media. I post about like my workout for the day, and I share transformations like every other day probably on my Facebook like page and on my personal page, and probably every few days on my Instagram, because I like every 6 to 8 pictures to be a transformation with a direct invite. Saying drop your email, like I'm doing congrats, or huge shout out to Jennifer who, lost 30 pounds with 2 rounds or in 60 days with 30-minute HIIT workouts, daily superfoods. And like I say, I brand it to fit myself. I don't use product names. And then I'm like, if you are ready to drop your excuses and shred 10 to 15 pounds, drop your email below or hit me up. And then I like a lot of people. And then you're going back and creating those relationships, and people will see that.
Okay. Well. Cool. Well, we have like 7 minutes left. Does anybody have any questions that they want to ask Kate? Yesenia? Okay, cool. Can you unmute yourself, or do I need to?
Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah, there we go.
Cool. Okay, so hey, I'm Yesenia. So
I
my
heard about you
question
in Costa
is,
Rica. Tamara was funny.
What?
Oh, Tamara talked about you in Costa Rica.
Aw, I hope good stuff. Anyways, do you post the same stuff on Instagram as you do on Facebook?
Yes, I do. I sometimes change it up a little bit. I always post to my like page. I don't get a ton of contacts unless it's people from Instagram for my like page. But I do go over and post something similar to my personal Facebook too. And sometimes I'll reword it a little bit because I know I've heard different things about using your personal Facebook as like a business and Facebook being able to like shut you down for it. So I'll change it to more of like a friendly invite versus like, whatever it is if I'm doing that kind of, if I'm sharing a transformation or whatever. But yes, I do. If you look at my Instagram and Facebook, you'll see similar things.
In general, though, you said post 3 to 5 times a day on Instagram, right?
Yes.
Do you do the same thing for Facebook? So
I probably post more on my personal Facebook because I share different things. Like I'm like, oh, I shared earlier that I was about to get on the team call and I didn't do a post about that on Instagram. Like I'll post about it afterwards because it's a way to talk about the business opportunity. But, I shared it differently on Facebook than I did my Instagram. Just because my Instagram, you don't want to over spam people. There's people who post like 3 pictures in like an hour. And if you're posting like once in the morning, once in the afternoon, a couple times during the evening, then people see your stuff throughout the day and it's not just like constant overload because you'll see like successful Instagrammers, they're constantly getting their stuff out there, but it's not just like spammed on their Instagram. So it'll be different a little bit.
That was an awesome question. That was a hot topic in Costa Rica, actually.
Yeah.
And I can't remember who said, but someone said, we think that we're overdoing it when we post the same thing to one social media than to another, but we're actually not, because the people that are on Instagram probably aren't on Facebook, so they're not seeing that post. So it's kind of like only we see how much we're posting, and we're like the only ones that are getting tired of it, but everybody else is probably either on one form of social media or the other. So
yeah,
don't think that you're overdoing it.
Yeah, and if you do, like if you have people who are following you on Facebook or on Instagram and friends with you on Facebook, like Facebook changes a lot of things. So a lot of people don't necessarily see your stuff on Facebook if you're not constantly in contact with them. Like I know Facebook has different like rules for that. Like if you're messaging someone and commenting on stuff more, they will see your stuff more, and vice versa. But say you're not, they might see it on Instagram, but not on Facebook. And so they're like, oh, Tamara posted that on Instagram. I'm going to reach out to her on Facebook. And they're like, oh, she actually posted that, but I didn't see that.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Awesome. Well, we have 3 minutes left. Does anybody else have any questions or something that they would like to touch on? Sybil, you look like you have something. I know you always have something. No? Okay. Well, we definitely appreciate you taking the time out to do this. We know you run your own team. She's about to have her own team call, actually. Was that Becky? You have something? No? Oh, you're just like, thumbs up. But just a huge thank you to you for taking out this time and, you know, being prepared and just like giving us all your tips and tricks. Not that we're competing against each other, but some coaches look at it like, I'm not sharing my secrets with you.
I was talking to somebody about that earlier, and I honestly believe like that's crazy business, because I've talked to so many coaches and we mastermind a lot in Costa Rica. Like,
yeah,
don't ever worry about sharing what works for you with another coach, because those people who are going to reach out to you are going to reach out to you because they want to work with you. So if somebody reaches out to somebody else over you, you just have to put your ego aside and get over it, because they're going to be more successful with that person than they are with you. And you'll have people who actually want to work with you. And I'd rather have people who want to work with me, so I don't worry about that. You know?
Totally. And I mean, if you just look at all of us, we're all so very different. We have different hobbies. Some have multiple kids, some have no kids. And so we all are definitely going to attract other people in our lives. So it's good to make sure that we're sharing information with each other and just helping other people grow, because then you're going to attract that growth into your life too. I firmly believe that. But awesome. Well, less than 1 minute left, or just about. And thank you. Just so grateful. Yeah.
I'm so happy to do it. We had so much fun in Costa Rica.
Cool. So if everybody wants, they can unmute and everybody tell Kate thank you, and then I'm going to go ahead and end the call. So
Thank you.
Thank you guys for letting me be on your call.
Yes, thank you. We'll talk later. Thank you guys again for being on the call. See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.